Here we go. After a day off Monday and a two-game sweep by the Athletics this week, the Cardinals are reeling. But manager Mike Shildt doesn't agree with the assessment of the media and fans of where the Cardinals currently sit. There's plenty to take a look at, so let's dig in. All right, like we said, the Cardinals lost their two games to the Oakland A's this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. They're off again today, Thursday, and they are in San Diego now for a three-game series there. They've got a lengthy road trip before heading into the All-Star break. So, I don't know if you heard, but Mike Shildt had a press conference the other day where he was asked about the state of the team. And he kind of reacted with some surprise and it seems like irritation with the media and the fans' assessment of the club. And I won't get into all the comments that he made, but he basically said he gets it. Patience is thin. He kind of alluded to the lack of playoff appearances over the last several years. But he really kind of acted surprised that they weren't getting credit for some of the positive things that they've done, particularly the 20-10 record that they had in April. They are apparently the best base stealing team in baseball. Their defense is drastically improved. I want to say they're ranked like fourth in team defense. And he's not wrong about that. They've definitely gotten significantly better than previous year's teams in those categories. And as he pointed out at the time, they were only 2.5 games out of first place in the National League Central. So all that sounds great, right? 2.5 games out, one weekend series, and they could be right back in first place. They're doing the fundamental things, playing, he even referenced Whitey ball, playing an exciting brand of baseball. So where are these complaints coming from? Well, I'll tell you where they're coming from. And I'm going to pull these stats. I actually started looking them up, and then I saw a tweet from Bernie Miklasz, who provided very much of what I was already going to look up. So since the start of May, the Cardinals are 28th in OPS, 28th in weighted runs created plus, 29th in slugging percentage, tied for 23rd in on-base percentage, 29th in batting average. They are averaging only 4 runs per game, 4.0. And their record since the end of April, which again, they went 20-10 in April. Their record since then is 21-29. So just about a 40% record, or 400. So, we were complaining when this team was 500, and they've been 21-29 since that kind of record-setting pace of April. So, we're talking about their 28th and 29th ranked categories. There's only 30 teams, so they are at the bottom of all the major leagues in several significant offensive categories. Now, let's take a little bit closer look at just some of those numbers. So, 28th in OPS, a 674 OPS. Slugging, 370, 304 on base percentage. I mean, those are just kind of pathetically low numbers. 229 batting average. So, it's just, we've been talking about it every podcast, and after every game, when they get shut out or they can't plate a run late in the game when they need to, they seem to do just enough to keep us thinking that it's there, but they don't ever quite put it all together. They've still got a couple guys that are doing their part, really just Marcell Ozuna. Everybody else has tailed off or hasn't really gotten started in the first place in the case of Carpenter and Goldschmidt. So I don't know. I mean, this is where, it's hard to believe that Mike Shildt is naive or unaware of where this fan angst is coming from. I think he is aware of it. I think he was questioned after a frustrating series loss, and so maybe he was kind of lashing out a little bit. I'm not gonna say the last couple of years I had jokingly hashtag fire Matheny, and I've wanted him fired for a while. I'm not saying that about Shildt at all. I like Mike Shildt. I think he's a good manager. The players seem to like him. I don't think the problem is with him necessarily, though there have been a few decisions he's made that seem questionable, but nothing like the Matheny era, in my opinion. So I'm not necessarily putting the blame on him. I do think maybe he's sticking with some lineups a little too much. Now, I have said earlier in the season on previous episodes that I kind of like the way he sticks with a lineup. It keeps guys who are hitting well, it keeps them hitting well. It gives other guys a chance to break out of a slump. I think some of that inconsistency that they had over the last few seasons, that Matheny, was always tinkering with the lineup. As soon as a guy had an 0 for 3, he was going to be benched the next day. But now it seems like he's sticking with certain guys way too long when they clearly aren't getting out of their slump and they aren't figuring it out. He's keeping them in the lineup, even though it's to the detriment of the lineup. Now, there aren't enough guys hitting to kind of give him any real options, and he did tinker with the lineup a little the other night. He sat Carpenter. Edelman got the start, got a leadoff hit, played well defensively, had a couple hits, I think. But I'd like to see him change up the lineup a little bit as far as just maybe moving some guys around. The guys that are hitting maybe should move up a little. Guys that are struggling need to move down. So, I don't know. Some of that is mind games, and you're sort of punishing a guy by moving him down in the lineup, and maybe they won't respond well to that. But they haven't been responding to anything else, so to me, you need to field the best lineup you can. But that's, like I said, I'm not blaming Shildt for the offense. These guys have to figure it out. Now, you could argue that maybe they aren't going to figure it out. Certain guys like Matt Carpenter, who received an extension this year completely unnecessarily. He already was under contract for next year with a team option. They wouldn't have even had to pick that option up, but if they wanted, they could have had him at a reasonable annual salary for next season and then decide if you want to give him an extension. But they gave it to him early, and he hadn't earned it yet. They went off of what he did last season, even though he ended the year in kind of a slump again. But after that MVP run, he, obviously was terrible at the beginning of last year, super hot in the middle, and then cooled off quite a bit. He got that extension, and I think he might be done. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's ready to turn it around. He doesn't seem to be able to catch up to a fastball. He's chasing pitches now. He's getting frustrated at what he thinks is a disciplined strike zone. He knows the strike zone well. He's getting called out on pitches that he thinks aren't strikes, and they are. Goldschmidt is sort of in the same boat. We see him strike out over and over and over again, and I swear it's on belt high fastballs that he can't catch up to, and then he strikes out looking on a breaking ball in the corner. It's as if, I mean, and he probably is. He's mentally lost right now. He's struggling enough that he's not sure when to pull the trigger, when to let it go. But I'm definitely concerned with his inability to hit the fastball. If it's teed up right where he wants it, yeah, he can get a hold of it and hit it out. But it seems like what I see is that he has a grooved swing. His swing is going to go one place, and if that pitch is a little low, he's going to swing over the top of it. If it's a little high, he's going to swing under it. He's not adjusting his swing to where the pitch is, and pitchers are taking advantage of it. They're seeing it, they're setting him up, and they're punching him out far too often. He's just not doing enough damage. And he doesn't have enough guys hitting around him to really help to put that pressure on the pitcher. Guys aren't getting on base enough to get the pitcher, anxious and nervous about having to walk the next guy. And so they grooves one in there, a hittable pitch, and these guys hit it. So they're not putting enough pressure on the opposing pitcher, and they're not doing enough damage. They're not making adjustments within the at bat, and It's obvious. They're just not putting up enough runs or any offensive statistics. So let's look at the argument Mike Shildt made about they're only 2.5 games out of first place. That's true. And in that, if you look at it that way, we should be excited. There's half the season left for them to make up that ground and pull away. They don't have much ground to make up. Like I said, they could do that in a weekend. But they really shouldn't be. And actually, now it's 3 games. The Cubs won today. The Brewers won today. So now the Cardinals are 3 games out with the day off. Uh, but they shouldn't be 3 games out. The way they've been playing at basically, I mean, if you look at the whole season, they're 1 game over 500. They've got a 40-39 record. They're a 500 ball club. And playing 500 is not close to a first place team. To say that they're only 3 games out is completely deceiving, and it's completely sort of a slap in the face to the fans. They don't look like a first place team. They don't play like a first place team, and their record is nothing like a first place team. Now, you could make that argument about the Cubs and the Brewers too. They're not that much better than the Cardinals. I was looking at the other division races. All 3 American League division leaders have over 50 wins. The Cubs have 44. All 3 American League second place teams have more wins than the Cubs, and 2 of the third place teams have as good or better record than the Cubs. So, the Cubs, who are leading our division, wouldn't even be close to hanging in the American League. Obviously, the Cardinals and Brewers wouldn't either, but to say that we're close to being in first place, well, that's just, it's kind of a joke. The Braves in the National League, the Braves are leading the East with 48 wins, and the Dodgers in the West have 55. Both are significantly better records than the Cubs. So, what seemed like we were going to have the best division in baseball with the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals competing, head to head all season long, has kind of played out that way. But it's not like they've just been beating up on each other, and that's why their records are a little lower. All 3 of those teams have been struggling throughout the season. No, none of them have pulled away and really done anything with the fact that the other teams are struggling. One of those 3 teams you would think would have pulled away by now, and they haven't. So it's not that the Cardinals are better than we think they are, and look how close they are to first place. It's that the Cubs and Brewers are nearly as bad as we are, and one of these 3 teams is going to turn it on and pull away eventually. Do any Cardinals fans right now, if they're being honest with themselves, think that that team looks like it's going to be the Cardinals that's going to pull away from the Cubs and Brewers? I don't see a reason to think that. We just lost our closer. The guy who they've anointed to replace him, Carlos Martinez, has had injury risk. He's missed time this season. He's been a mental head case previous points in his career. I don't know why anybody thinks that we can count on him as our closer. But at this point, he's our best option. I mean, there's other guys who arguably could be a better option, like John Gant, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him in a starting role. We've had injuries to the starting rotation. So, I don't know. They don't look like they have the depth at this point, pitching wise, to really pull away. The offense is completely struggling. And the defense has been solid, but because the offense has struggled, he's been playing Jose Martinez more, and I think we're going to see more of that, which means you're not getting Harrison Bader in the outfield. So there's, a defensive drop off, swapping out Martinez for Bader. And, as great as Wong has been and DeYoung is good up the middle, I don't like Carpenter at third. Goldschmidt's been great at first defensively, but you're going to get a lot of balls hit down that third base line, and I don't expect Carp to make all the plays that he should. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to see where Shildt is coming from when he's surprised by fans' reaction to the team. So I get it. He's got to defend his guys. He's going to point out the positives, and he should do that. But I guess I would appreciate him kind of understanding where the fans are coming from and maybe concede that. And he did. He said they need to play better. They need to hit better. He understands that. I guess it was just the way he made those comments and the way it came across. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too defensive. I don't know. What do you think? Was Shildt out of line with his comments, or was he right on? Should we be defending this team more than we are? Are they better than I'm making them out to be? I think they definitely can be. Um, I believe it was maybe Jim Edmonds the other day said that as he didn't say this, but he basically said as bad as they've been playing, to be only 2.5 or 3 games out, you have to assume that they're going to play better, that guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Matt Carpenter, and Paul DeYoung are going to turn it on, and Molina, that they're going to play better. They can't play worse than they have been. So if that happens, and it should, because there's no reason to think it won't, then they're definitely going to go on a run, and they're going to, take over first place. Now, that's pretty optimistic. That's coming from a former Cardinal and a current employee of the team or the station that covers the team. So, he's got reason to kind of put a positive spin on it, but he knows what he's talking about. So, you got to give some credence to that. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely it's been frustrating. Hopefully when they head into this All-Star break, they can kind of regroup, come back home, and get off to a good start. But before that, let's see how they do on this road series. They're going to be a bunch of late night games. They're going to have to stay up late to catch these games. So hopefully I can stay up, check them out, watch them, and get some more detailed information and some more stats on how they've been doing. So let's hope they turn it around. All right, that's pretty much all I got. I didn't get too stat heavy today. I did want to quote Bernie Miklasz on his tweet with the rankings of their offensive positions. So anyway, we got ground to make up. Like we said, the Cubs and Brewers are ahead of them. Brewers are 1 game back of the Cubs. Cards are 3 back. So they could definitely do it this weekend. But more likely it's going to take some time. And it's going to take some improvement. So let's hope they do it sooner than later. All right, that's all I got. I appreciate you listening. As usual, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac.